Today, between 3,000 and 5,000 companies are issuing sustainability reports. You can say that that is little, the glass is half empty. You can also say that the glass is half full. We expect that this number of 3,000 to 4,000 companies that are issuing sustainability reports will increase tremendously over the next few years because of several factors. First of all, because of the giant new economies like India and China that are growing very fast. The increase in number of reports is very impressive over the last few years. And also, by the way, in the region of Latin America. And secondly, because of regulation. We see now that several hundreds of measures, policy measures, have been taken in countries, not only in so-called industrialized countries, but also in the new emerging economies. And that will create a groundswell of new reporters of those companies that so far were not by themselves on a voluntary basis interested to issue sustainability reports. Commissioner Barnier of the Internal Market of the European Commission has issued a proposal for legislation that means that all in the EU zone, including 28 countries, of course Italy amongst them, all companies of more than 500 employees have to issue information in their annual report, either through a sustainability report or through their general annual report. They have to issue information on their policy, strategy, on their risk assessment, but also on the results in the fields of environment, social issues, human rights and governance, including corruption and diversity. Now, Italy plays an important role there because the European Parliament, the committee within the European Parliament that is pushing this through the regulation process is Mr. Baldassare, who is the chair of the Juri Committee of the European Parliament. And he plays an extremely important role. And as we stand now, the 6th of December 2013, the process looks rather promising thanks to the leadership role of Mr. Baldassare. Now, this will have a huge impact on the whole of the European economy and community. And I can tell you that those companies that are already acquainted with sustainability reporting, with transparency and with looking at their supply chain, they will have an advantage to those who have not started to do so yet. But it will also create a level playing field so that all the companies will do it and that it's better to compare amongst companies. So I'm very excited about this process, and I think right now it looks rather promising, and we hope that with the Greek incoming presidency of the EU, before summer, before maybe even Easter, the new legislation will become adopted by the European Council, meaning all the EU member states, and by that it will become law. And this is an opportunity for Europe to continue to be the leading economy in the world, not only in economic terms, but also in terms of sustainability. Now, G4, which is the fourth generation of the GRI guidelines, coming after G3.1, there are a few major changes. First of all, it is supposed to be a bit easier for companies, because instead of having to report on a lot of topics, on a lot of standard disclosure items, the main focus is now on materiality. That means that companies have to go through a process, including engagement with their stakeholders, to determine what is really material to them. Now, supply chain management, the issue of the value chain and the supply chain, is one of the big new innovations within G4. And that is because our global stakeholders are all of the opinion that supply chain management is the topic of the future and has not been taken enough into account. Sustainable supply chain review is a very, very important instrument, and the version of 2013 seems very interesting. And I think personally that this could be a good model for other European countries, and for that matter for countries outside Europe as well. And I think now that the European regulation is coming into place to make it mandatory for countries to report, this review could be something that could happen also at a European level. Now, looking at the content of the review, I think it is to a certain extent encouraging to see that the review demonstrates that companies, individual companies, actually judge now that for them there is a competitive advantage if they get into the journey, into the adventure of dealing with their supply chains and going through the whole process of responsible supply chain management. This does not mean that it is easy. It is quite a challenge, and I think it's very good to look at some good international examples and some good Italian examples, and that is exactly what the study does. It is also encouraging to see that the study actually explains that with G4, instead of companies only reporting some qualitative data on their plans and their strategy on supply chain, that with the implementation of G4 it will also become more quantitative, and that means there will be more meat on the bone, more proof, and therefore it will be in a way easier to have solid proof for reviews in the future. And what I also find, this is my third and last remark, very interesting, is that the companies that are not listed on the stock exchange, I think it was 27 companies outside, that overall their performance was of a bit higher quality than the companies on the stock exchange. So I think that is also encouraging signals. There are no formal drivers. There is no law that says that they should do this, but they do this because they are convinced that there is an advantage for them in there, or maybe that they feel a moral imperative to behave in a responsible way, and I think that's very encouraging.